It is Sunday, March the 9th. Welcome to Two Guys, One Cup, an AFL adjacent podcast. My name is Will Anderson.
My name is Charlie Clausen, coming to you from the underwater kingdom of the Northern Rivers.
Firstly, let's just check in on that because, I mean, it will be thematic to the episode regardless. I mean, obviously weather has interrupted the opening round of the AFL, but you were personally, well, if not in the eye of the storm, you were somewhere between the eye and the nostril of the storm. You were
They're predicting the groin of the storm was going to hit us in the face. It was going to be a real turkey slap.
Damp, hot groin of the storm.
The storm was going to, teabag us.
How are you? Have you been safe? Have we heard from Joe Danaher?
I haven't heard from Joe, although I believe since he moved to the area, that is how they measure the height of floodwaters. If you can see Joe's head bobbing above the water, then you know the levees have not broken.
Have they got like a Joe, like measurer, like a ruler or whatever that they use, like a cardboard cutout that you might have at the footy?
As you cross over like a low bridge or whatever. It's like
there's just a Joe there. Like,
I mean, his head kind of looks a bit like a periscope, or like one of those those birds that you see in the ocean with the little heads that stick out of the water. Like,
it would be the ultimate like finishing of our Joe Danaher arc. I don't think it has to finish, even though Joe doesn't play in the AFL anymore. He's still
referenced until Jesse White for a good 4 years after he retired.
So I think we're gonna notice a Joe-shaped hole in the AFL this year, but. I particularly thought about Joe there in the Northern Rivers, dealing with all this going on. But if there was some sort of way as a tribute to the great Joe Danaher that we could lobby not now, because obviously they're in the middle of a lot of stuff. I feel like it's a bit sensitive. But could there be, as you said, a Joe Danaher style, just to make it more fun, like you honor a local celebrity? Like it'd even be fun, like language you could put in the community. You'd be like, "Oh, it's at Liam Hemsworth. Oh, actually, it's up to Joe Danaher. You've got to be like,
name all the Northern Rivers celebs."
Yes, that's right. Have a little.
We've got a real Bernard Fanning coming in. It's a Category 2 Bernard Fanning,
right?
Yeah. I mean, what about this? Like, there was some controversy up in Byron a few years ago about a sculpture that was put on Ewingsdale Road. It was meant to resemble seagulls circling a lighthouse, but I believe the artist ran out of money or had some of his grant rescinded before he could complete it. And so what it ended up being was quite a aggressive, brutalist style sculpture of like a stainless steel lighthouse with these very threatening looking birds. What if that roundabout, that's free now? Yeah. Like there's another sculpture that can go in there, but why don't we make it a multi-purpose? So it is a Joe Danaher. Yeah. And when that little pinhead of his, when it lights green, everything's fine. Yeah. Orange, prepare to evacuate. Red, get out of town.
Oh, we got an Amber Joe today. Get the go bag together. We got an Amber Joe.
Listen to Joe and go, go, go. So yes, look, I mean, we are compared to others, we're fine. We followed the SES New South Wales, and the ABC Northern Rivers have all been amazing. Like the communication this time around has been excellent. I think 2022 will take them by surprise, but everyone had a good 4 or 5 days, and there was a lot of communication about what to do, what to expect. So we're fine. It's just certain areas around us, they flood, and so that has happened. And so I imagine there will be quite a big cleanup operation happening over the next few months. But it feels like, compared to the last time, the response by the government, the army's already here. I'm not sure if you remember, Will, but in 2022, it took them about 10 days
took the army a while.
It was just like they're having an extra long.
It feels like the army were there so quick this time that it was like they never left. They've just been hanging out in the Northern Rivers, driving their tanks around. They just finished
their photo shoot. They completed that photo shoot for 2022, and it's like another storm rolled in.
And obviously, in relationship to us doing a football podcast, like half of the opening round was cancelled, but also did you have any capacity because you didn't have power for days, right?
3 days without power. It's funny you should say that. Our old mate, Sammy Cav, I was texting with him. We're just checking in with each other periodically. And it was Friday night. And he was like, thank God the footy's on, because he still had power. And he's like, no, that will take my mind off the impending cyclone. And I was like, oh, I've only got a petrol-operated generator, and I'm using that to power the fridge and the Wi-Fi, you know, got to keep broad emergency broadcast signals.
Yeah. You know what you've got, to use a football analogy? You've got Ken Hinkley. But, you know, Josh Carr's gone down, you know, but you've still got the old reliable generator.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can just roll it out for these emergency situations.
My Jenny is a good ordinary play. This is the dude. Yeah. He's a Ben Cunnington. It was the Ben Cunnington of power supplies. Like, just reliable, nothing fancy. But I did have to sort of prioritize what I was going to use that petrol on, because a football game goes for 3 hours. That's probably about, you know, half a tank of fuel. And I said to Sam jokingly, like, I have to prioritize like feeding my family or watching the first game of the 2025 season. I can't do that. And then when I realized I was sitting in the dark, I hadn't charged my iPad. I'm like, fuck this. And so I put my family's well-being at risk so I could watch the football. And I'm really glad I did. It was an excellent game. It was exciting, Will. The Hawks look every bit as good as they've been talked up to be. The Swans had a disappointing loss in front of their fans. So it's so much to like about the first game of the season.
I was interested in what your reaction to that was going to be, though, because in a way, like, they are the two sort of traditional hates. I know you've had mixed emotions about both, but like, they're the, like, you know, it's kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like, I did wonder who you side with. Is this one of those ones where you're just happy to see one of them be beaten?
Hawthorn's inevitable.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, like,
you've resigned yourself to Hawthorn being Hawthorn.
Hawthorn are the Cyclone Alfred of the AFL.
They as they ever have been Hawthorn.
Yeah. It was just, I think everyone, because I've heard a lot of people sort of being like very negative on Hawthorn and it's a flash in the pan. And I'm like, what in their recent history has made you think that this like bounce back to form is unsustainable? Like, this is what Hawthorn do. They just, like, I know Port's motto is we exist to win premierships, but really that should be transferred officially over to Hawthorn. They do exist to win flags. And I know we mentioned it last week in the preview episode, but it's fucking annoying how good they are.
But you were happier, like, you were fine for Sydney to, like, I mean, did you get joy out of Sydney losing, or was it I
think it's not, again, it's a bit like the Carlton thing. I like the Swans players. I do like seeing Sydney fans upset.
Right. Okay.
Like that part.
Interesting. No.
I did, like, you know, I sort of felt like, okay.
But what about Hawthorn fans, right? Like,
inevitable.
We've got so many friends who are Hawthorn fans.
Never stop smiling. When was the last time you saw Limo like frown?
I mean, everyone always says that to me. They're like, oh, Limo, he's just like one of the happiest guys of all time, isn't he? And it's like, yeah, he plays for Hawthorn. Yeah. He played for Hawthorn all his life.
Michael Chamberlain, Emma Race, like they're all
happy people.
The happiest people.
Shiny, happy people.
Glowing. Declan Fay.
Ross Stevenson has been the number one breakfast radio person in Melbourne radio for 25 years. Like, he rates 10 points ahead of anybody else. Hawthorn fan.
Cash won Wimbledon. And when he received the trophy, he said, this is fine, I guess, but I'm a Hawthorn supporter. Yeah. Oh, they look good, man. They look real good. Yeah. And that idea of, hey, why don't we get two quality defenders and Barras and Battle so we can send Sicily forward? Turns out that's a masterstroke. Do you remember when we were joking about Sam Mitchell being the Iago, you know, to Alistair Clarkson when he was at Hawthorn, and there's something like weird? And I thought he was a bit of a Dexter serial killer type. You know, I don't know that he would be, but the footage I've seen of him and when he's interviewed, he seems very personable, got a new take on coaching. He's got this real balance between a hard edge, but also wanting them to express themselves.
I find that the biggest enigma of all about Hawthorn is, like, have we been misled on who Sam Mitchell is, or has he gone on a journey of like self-discovery and is a different person now to the person he used to be? And I don't have a clear picture, like one of those two things has happened, right? He
Yes.
either has always just been like a bit more like this and people have misrepresented him, or he is now different to what he used to be and we find that more appealing. And so which of them do you think it is?
I think he has changed. I think that in football, you know, we like to sort of freeze people in amber. We have an impression of someone and we think that is who they are on and off the field for all eternity. And I think
when you say amber, you mean like amber, like on Joe Danaher's statue at the
that's
roundabout?
right, which is prepare to evacuate. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think we had this impression of him, you know, like he was a hard-nosed competitor, came off the supplementary list, fought his way, you know, should have won a Brownlow clear, but also, you know, made the injection sign to the Bombers. Like, you know, we had all this kind of info on him, and we constructed this character. But as you find, like, you know, I found with Nick Revolt, my impression of him on the field and what I've learned about him over the last 5 years as a media commentator is quite different. Like the way he presented, and then the way, and so I think it's no different with coaches, or maybe Ken Hinkley. He's 50. What you see is what you get. I don't know there's layers to Ken Hinkley. I mean, maybe in the Hawthorn final last year, where he was laughing at the.
If Ken Hinkley was in a dessert shop while everything else was named Tort or Pavlova or Lamington, it would just be marked cake.
Yeah. There's nothing fancy about Ken.
Can we just say, you mentioned the injection saga. I just wanted to briefly mention Jobe Watson because, of course, one of the victims, I mean, you know, football adjacent, we are a football adjacent podcast. Poor old Jobe Watson, who was meant to be getting married this weekend in Noosa, I believe, and had to cancel his wedding, he's had a, like, if you're Jobe Watson, who, as far as I know from anyone who's ever met or had anything to do with Jobe Watson, everyone's just like, he's like a really great guy and everyone respects him and really likes him. What his life, sometimes he must just go, what did I do
wrong?
What have I done? Like, why do I get to almost experience happiness and then have it snatched away from me? Like, why am I cursed to this?
You know why? Because his dad coached St Kilda for 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he got infected and he brought it home and infected his son.
Yeah. Like the ring.
Jobe will almost, but never experience joy. Actually, I should bring up, I think this is, we're already in the silly season of footy, Will. And so you're getting a lot of
that's our season, the silly season.
Fox Footy desperate to fill your pages with nonsense. And so I believe this was a Fox Footy post. Sorry, no, this is just a footy blogger. He has reversed the premierships of the last 15 years. So I'll just hold this up for you. So that is if all the premierships of the last 15 years were reversed. So starting with St Kilda, we're back-to-back premiers, then Collingwood, Hawthorn, the Dockers, the Swans, the Eagles, the Swans, the Crows, the Pies, the Giants, the Cats, the Doggies, the Swans, the Lions, the Swans. So, I mean, look, it's an alternate reality in which every grand final in the last 15 years has been reversed. The Dogs are fine. You come out even Stevens, one win. The Pies are fine. Even Stevens.
Would have been no good for me though, because it was the COVID year, right? So I wouldn't have it. I would have had to sneak across the border into Western Australia to go to the game.
Look at that graphic. Look at the Swans. Yeah. 4 flags on the table there. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Saints one hurts, but the Swans one, I'm like, maybe I should be easier on Swans fans. Yeah, they know true pain.
Charlie, I've been doing a graph. I can't actually show it on the screen right now, but it's a graph of last year's competition. And if you reverse all the results of the entire competition, Richmond are actually the premiers. So it's like... It's like, yeah, that's what the game is. Like, of course, if the result went the other way, I think, did we need a graph to understand the concept that when Sydney have lost 4 grand finals and it haunts them, that if they had not lost them, they would have won them? Hang on, let me consult the graph.
So watching the Swans game, Chad Warner, good footballer.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
all the talk around, is this his last year and whatever. And so I was sort of thinking about that.
Seems to be one of those ones that everyone's talking about as if it's a done deal. When sometimes
it's like Dangerfield to July.
Yeah. It's just like no one's really doing a good job of refuting it.
So I was thinking about Chad, and I'm like, because he's always struck me as, he's a real Chad in every sense of the word. He's a real bro. He's got that bro energy, plays with that bro energy.
Yeah.
And I think Sydney and Perth have Chads, but different kinds of Chads. So I was trying to think, what kind of Chad do you think Chad is? Is he a Perth Chad or is he Sydney Chad? Because I think he fits in perfectly at Sydney, but you think he's more of a Perth Chad?
Perth.
Right, okay. Why?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, sometimes people just love Western Australia.
Yeah.
He has that, it's that thing of, he'll be such a great player for Sydney. I reckon it's that thing of, you're at one of the greatest, teams in the competition, constantly in the finals, speculated on being a Brownlow medalist, playing with this incredible midfield that you fit into perfectly. As you and I both know, if you have access to, being able to live at one of the eastern suburbs beaches of Sydney, which you can do, it is a beautiful life to be living close to Sydney, playing football in relative anonymity, but still getting to be enough of a star because they're a big team in Sydney, right?
Yeah, still get drink cards.
Perfect, just your perfect lifestyle of being famous enough, but not that West Coast Eagles all-encompassing famous, So firstly, he knows how much more famous he would be in Western Australia. He knows that. He grew up there. He knows what the Eagles are like compared to the Sydney Swans. So he's clearly making a choice.
So you've gone straight to the Eagles. You have not even considering Freo.
Oh, mate. The meanest thing he's done is buy that house that's halfway between the two.
Give Freo some hope.
Yeah, I think that I do think that the idea is Warner and Harley Reid, as you're rebuilding your midfield, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yes. God,
you can build around the two of them, and that makes and then that's how you rebuild the West Coast Eagles. But you need someone who, if Harley doesn't love Western Australia yet, if Harley hasn't settled in for the long haul, you need someone who, wants to be in Western Australia more than anything else. And also, I think, maybe that's the sort of thing you want around Harley as well, is this idea of going, yeah, I've been to Sydney, mate. It's not that great over that side of it. I'll tell you it's great over there, but they had this thing called COVID. We didn't even have that here.
Do you think that Harley, do you think that Chad could, because we've always said that Harley looks like a Western Australian footballer, but we know he's Victorian. Yeah. Could Chad WA Harley, he's got the look already, but can
totally.
he give him that, win him? I mean, what would it take? Is hey, guess what? You never have to pay a parking fine ever again. You can park where you like.
Yeah, I think that's what he's got to do. I think Chad's got to come back. Chad, I mean, clearly this is all speculation based on nothing but just to
vibes.
Be fair, because I'm about to say some real mean vibes things, but
mean vibes.
I just feel like Chad could be one of those guys, Gary Ablett style. Remember when he was in Geelong and you could just if his car ran out of petrol, he could just abandon the car and someone would go and pick it up for him or whatever. Maybe Chad wants a bit of that, right? Because we know that Western Australia is if you are the best player or one of the best players at the West Coast Eagles, the whole of Western Australia opens up to you.
He wants complete impunity. He wants to be able to. I love that. So let's say that was if his manager went to West Coast and said,
he wants the version of diplomatic immunity, basically.
Yeah, if his manager went to West Coast and said, look, it's not really a dollars thing. We can get money anywhere. No.
Yeah.
But he has one specific request. He wants a new car every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when he leaves it, he just leaves it, and then you provide a new car for him. So he never drives the same car more than once over any trip. So if he drives to 7-Eleven, you've got to have another car there ready for him to get into on the way back. He's always just leaving cars.
Yeah, look, what we really want from this deal is we're happy to come in for less money. We're happy to be home in Western Australia. But what Chad really values more than anything else is he does not want to be held accountable for the consequences of any of his actions. So if everything could just be swept under the carpet, then You have our word. We're coming home.
West Coast, go, just crack open the 2005 archives. How did we run business back then? Oh, yeah. Okay, great. We pay off these guys. Yeah. Get the paper bags ready. We're going to pay some cops. Or at least give them some season tickets, at the very least. Did you see the lizard guys at the football?
No, I heard some people talking about the lizard guys, but I know nothing of the lizard guys.
I've got a screen grab to share with you. Look, I don't. I mean, you know how I feel about the lizard nickname and people's obsession with it.
It's funny, Charlie. It's very funny. Yep. Oh,
these guys.
Oh, you know what? It is happening. You're right.
So,
okay.
I have questions about this. Good on you. Commitment to that. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, these guys have painted their faces green. And they are wearing frills.
Is green face still fine? Are we? That's not going to come back to haunt them at some stage. Like
I don't.
Post Wicked, is it fine for guys to be going around in green face?
Maybe there is an issue with that. So they've got big foam frills, also green. Yes. Well, they look like frill neck lizards.
And then wearing Sydney jumpers.
Over the Sydney jumpers. Super fans, you'd call them. So couple of things. When are they getting ready? Like when are they putting on the makeup? When are they putting on the frill? At home?
Yeah.
Or when they get to the ground?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think if you are driving in, you do it at home because it's fine.
Driving is fine. Yeah. And from the car park at like Moore Park into the like SCG or whatever, that's fine. You can do that.
Okay. What about if you're catching public transport or walking from work?
There's a group of them. So I think that if there's a group of them, like I think if there's like a pack of like guys all dressed the same, it's like cricket rules. Like the Richies can't wait until they get to the SCG before they don the Richie blazers and foam microphones. Like, I mean, you need to do some of that preparation on the way. And as long as you go in as a pack, it's like going out in your school uniform or something.
Yeah. Okay. So as long as there's a group of you, and everyone gets it. Like you're in the Swans jumper. Okay, so
I was at WOMAD. I walked by a guy who was dressed head to toe in blue body paint, and he was almost naked, right? Like very close to being naked. And it was getting dark, and it freaked me out a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, that's a bit much." And then I realized there was a woman dressed like she was painted head to toe in red, and there was another man dressed painted head to toe in like another color. And I was like, "Oh, this is like an art piece. Like I've just walked into some art." And then I was like, "Oh, this is fine." Now that I know the context.
Yeah. You're not being abducted by some guy from
I honestly thought I was like, "Oh, no, stranger danger."
It's going to eat you. All right, so the game is over. The Swans lose. Heartbreaking, like they were really wanted to make a statement. So do you leave it on the way home? Because it's all like spirits are high on the way to the ground, the start of a new season, but they've had a fairly crushing loss. Do you take off the frill in the stands and go to the bathroom and wipe your face clean, or do you show solidarity? Like, how lizard committed are you?
How was the lizard playing?
Good. I mean, the reason that shot is taken after he kicked an amazing goal. His signature takes it off half back, streams through the middle, got it back, slotted it beautifully. In fact, that moment prompted Gerard Whately, who, by the way, I haven't heard commentate on the TV before, and I don't know how I feel about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like Gerard.
Oh, interesting.
But, okay, how's this? This is Fox Footy, right?
Yeah.
We're used to a sort of standard of razzle-dazzle.
Yes.
Your Dwayne Russells, even Hutto.
Yes.
Hutto's put a bit more in. Listen to Gerard's little aside. So so Blakey's kicked the goal. They cut to the lizards in the stand, and this is Gerard's observation.
Wonder what the record is for goals in a season by a full back.
It's a bit niche, but haven't seen lizards like that since V.
Off the wing.
It's a bit niche, but haven't seen lizards like that since V. So anyone born
even timeline wise, that barely checks out, because Gerard, I think, is younger than I am, and
he's not younger than you, is he?
I think so.
V, I believe,
so.
came out in 1983. Like
I remember felt young when I watched it. Put it that way. Like it felt too old for me.
I mean, I
obviously
put that
stayed
up.
with Gerard.
Do you remember when Dwayne Russell said, was it the Comanche Crunch or something? And we found out it was from a reference from Happy Days.
Happy Days, that's right.
Yeah, so this is on par with that. Like the silence. I'm just going to play it one more time because you've got to hear the silence after the reference.
Yeah.
I wonder what the record is for goals in a season by a full back.
It's a bit niche, but haven't seen lizards like that since V.
It's the sip of the drink. It's a little slurp of the drink that's the worst bit. Like there's an audible slurp of a...
I don't think that's a slurp. I think that's someone scoffing. That's what you're hearing. Yeah, listen again. We'll turn it up.
Okay.
I wonder what the record is for goals in a season by a full back.
It's a bit niche, but haven't seen lizards like that since V.
I think there's a scoff and a sip.
No, it's definitely a snort.
Okay.
I'm positive.
Okay, well, yeah, again, like, it's a small detail to get bogged down on, I guess, but that's not great gear by Gerard, who is the best in the game, and I am looking forward to hearing commentate games, and I hope we'll find his groove. But it is a different vibe than the radio.
Yeah.
Like, doing the commentary for TV, and he hasn't been doing it much, so it might take him a while to find, exactly like his place in there. But I trust that Gerard, of all people, quickly finds his groove wherever he finds himself.
Leave that to Dwayne. Like, you just do your eloquent observations. Like, he came up with a great call at the end of the game. He said, they are no longer the Hollywood Hawks, they're the heavyweight Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Well, that's your territory. Stay away from pop culture references.
Well, maybe does he go the other way, though?
Should you explain to listeners? We have younger listeners who might not know what V is. What is V, Will?
Oh, you know why he would? Yeah, they're thinking, was there something made about the energy drink? Maybe Gerard was fascinated by V because he was so into sports that he thought it was about the big V, the Victorians playing in the state of origin.
So I can't wait to see Ted Whitten.
Hang on, Ted Whitten's an alien? It was about aliens who were lizards. It was a lizard people show.
A mini series about aliens who come to Earth who look like us, and they promise to bring us infinite clean energy and make the world a better place. But it turns out they're actually reptiles.
Turns out
their
they've got
faces off.
Yeah, it was a little Illuminati before the Illuminati. Now that I hear it explained out loud, I'm like, oh, okay, hang on, was there something else going on there? But it never did feature State of Origin stars from the Big V.
No, that's for sure. The Giants got up over the Pies. That was a fun game to watch. Finn Callahan, holy fuck! Like Saints should have offered him more money. That kid. Wow.
I saw everybody talking about how well he had played, and what I love is that a case of none of us have just been paying enough attention, and then suddenly when everyone was like, he's worth this much money, everyone was like, hang on, who is? What? And then now, or is it the case that he now believes he is that good because he's like, I'm worth what? Oh, okay, well, maybe I'll play better.
I don't know. I mean, I knew this, last year I knew the Saints were going after him, but I just put him down as another one of those young guns that the Giants seem to have an infinite supply of. I didn't know he was that good, but then watching him today, he wasn't the best player on the ground, but when he did stuff, it was like Harley Reid-esque. It was, I mean, you may have seen the highlight. He takes the ball out of the middle, chain of handballs, receives it again on the 50 and just drills it. And it's like, okay, so this kid's pretty good. That's amazing. And the Giants, what a football club. I've said this before, but the quality of that club in terms of like how they have built a culture around those players and their fans, who I know are small in number, but they genuinely love that club. And like they make enough noise when you're at the ground. And I just think, I think that they could win the flag this year. I know I've tipped the Dogs and I'm sticking fat to that, bottom boys and all that, but they just kind of look like a serious football club with really good players. And if they can just stay fit, what are they lacking, the Giants?
I mean, they weren't even with their best, anywhere near their best forward.
No.
No
Tom Green. They lost their ruckman 1 quarter in.
If there were ever a time that they would, you give them a free hit for not playing well, And I've got to say, I probably thought this game was going to go the other way. But the fact that, because there was also that thing of they kind of, with a bit of luck, could have won the whole thing last year. Like they had opportunities.
7
they were
goals
in front
up against the Lions.
So, we knew they were a good team, but we didn't know what the effect of the kind of wacky Wednesday stuff and the just being bundled out of the finals, and maybe there'd be all this sort of legacy of all that. But it doesn't feel like that has happened.
I completely forgot about the wacky Wednesday stuff. That feels like a lifetime ago.
But then, even this week when Jesse Hogan's out because he's got a broken thumb because he jammed it in the toilet door on the bus.
Like the team bus? Is that right?
Yeah, well, I'd hope so. I don't think regular buses have a toilet door. So,
what? I've been making a mistake for a long time, man. I apologise to anyone I've taken public transport with. I see a seat, I see a toilet. Same thing as far as I'm concerned. If I'm sitting down, there's a chance I might defecate. That's why they call me.
What do they call you?
This bit, nothing.
Okay. All right. Okay. I thought you were going to land that one somehow.
No. I needed to bail out quickly.
All right. So Messi Grogan, you didn't know. So anyway, he jammed his finger in the toilet door on the team bus, and he's out. And then Jake Stringer, who's had the best preseason of all time, lost 7 kilos or whatever.
Yeah. Lost it betting.
But he isn't. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he put it in. That was actually it was Kingsley got him to the table on that deal.
Yeah.
He said, I bet you 7 kilograms. he put it in. So they're going to be probably pretty good because I think Collingwood are going to be good, right?
Yeah, they looked a bit lost today. A lot of new players and stuff. But look, if there's one thing I know, Will, it's the result of round 1 dictates how the season finishes. So clearly, Hawthorn and GWS will be playing off in the grand final.
Well, you know what I like about it the most is it's an interesting start to even though
it seems so weird,
even though it's been a delayed weird. With everything that's gone on, I am okay, well, this season's going to have a different vibe. Because this opening round has set the vibe for what the season is we may 12 rounds from now look back on this and think, oh, I can't even barely remember when we had that weird start to the season. But there has been something of an eerie, staggered, easing into the season that makes you also feel even less sure of how these round 1 results should be judged or how early rounds should be judged because Brisbane aren't training at the moment. You don't know what the after effects, even just the idea of we might get to a point later in the season where a team has to play twice in a week to get into the finals or whatever it might be. It's thrown up a few things that we would not have had to consider going into this season where you're oh, we're doing this season.
I saw I read Damien Barrett's Sliding Doors on Friday and it's like when you, I don't know, I guess if you live in a house with a smoker or something like that, you're just always inhaling the smoke and it's not until you get out of the house, you're I can breathe again. That's what fresh air feels like. And then you smell a cigarette, you're oh God, was that what I... So I read Sliding Doors. It's Damien Barrett is going to have to maintain this pace now for the rest of the year. He just comes out strong, bold proclamations, hating this, hating that. And it's you've got to maintain that pace. I think footy media needs to warm into the season like the teams do.
This is, I think, and it's the opposite. And that's why I think actually this was almost needed because there's now 357 football shows.
Yeah.
And they are all going to want to be breaking stories. Everyone's breaking stories. There's new generations of people in battles to break more stories. Everyone's going to have hot takes. Kane, I can listen to Kane and Kingy because I enjoy their whatever it is that they do together. I enjoy whatever that is. That's great. But
you're talking about which one? Five Ball Friday? Is that your favorite?
Monday and Friday. I'm happy with either of those. Okay. But yes, and I enjoy both of them.
Yeah.
But they're both ridiculous now. Like they both have had too many opinions and they keep having to have hot takes on everything and they're constantly contradicting a line of thinking they'd had the day before. And it's like...
I feel like though Kingy's is based on some kind of expertise. Like Kingy has watched tapes or he's studied like patterns or whatever, and he will make he will connect it to some kind of evidence. Whereas Kane just
but Kingy's like a guy... Kingy's like a guy on a podcast explaining how supplements work. Like he's bought into an ideology, a measurement by which you can measure the standard of the game, that he believes in. But he is a spruiker for the system. Do you know what I mean? Like whereas Kane is just having hot takes all over the joint. But I think they've lost their potency by their frequency. They've become comical. I can't remember what he thinks about anything. And I think it's actually started to, I think he might be, my worry for Kane is he's everywhere. And I don't know if that actually makes it better for him.
Yeah. And also he's one of those guys too who, and I don't know if this is a calculated thing or if it's his personality, but he responds to social media posts. Like people will go him on X or whatever, and he'll respond. And it's like, considering how much energy he's putting out, if you're getting onto those little spot fires as well, like he's gonna, I'm worried for him.
Yeah, I am. I never thought I would experience this emotion, but I am worried for Kane Corns. And I'm worried for everyone who's gone into the Avengers Endgame style footy show battle that we've commenced into, because
it's more like the Anchorman fight scene where it's just like 400 different footy shows.
And it is. It really is. And none, as we know from the history of this, they will not all last. So there are people at the moment who are embarking on something that will not last the entire season probably, right? Like not all of them will probably last. And that's tough for the people who are involved in that. But it's, at this point, there's just everyone has to go so hard at, like, particularly with all the people crossing networks and that whole idea of people being lured to one side and those who are left behind, and how that like divides the footy world again. And then of course they all work together on different radio shows or at afl.com.au. So you're like, I don't even know what the allegiances are. This is actually the Australian football media, particularly the Melbourne-based Australian football media, has a more complex and evolved narrative than the Marvel cinematic universe, right? Like there's so
interconnected stories.
Yes, and now there's been this whole like other thing thrown in the mix with Robbo gone, and this fight for power in the of supremacy of the Herald Sun and the coverage, the chief footy writer.
We should talk about
Fox Footy.
AFL 360. I haven't watched a full episode. I've seen bit here and there, and because a lot of people wanted to know our opinion about this, and I think when Robbo's been absent in the past, we've both commented that it's just not the same.
We miss Robbo.
Yeah, it's the specific dynamic between those two. You can put on another crotchety.
Oh, no, Robbo by himself, you could not pay me to watch, but Robbo with Gerard,
that particular original odd couple dynamic is what works. And like even, Jason Dunstall can play grumpy and stuff or like counter to Gerard, but it's not the same. There was something so perfect about that balance. It's just another footy show now.
It was just that brilliant thing that like watching Gerard have to tolerate the idiot.
But then I think Broden pointed this out in his show once, which is like sometimes Robbo comes out with a really progressive, insightful comment, or something quite sensitive and articulate, and then blah, 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 comes out straight afterwards. So it's like this, you just have this moment of like, oh, that's a really insightful, sensitive, well thought point. And now he's just dribbled down his tie.
Yeah, that's what I want in my football commentators, occasional moments of clarity. But you are right. Like, I miss him and the dynamic because sometimes you love to hate someone or love to be frustrated by somebody or love to see what they do next, right? Yeah. And I do think that there is something that Robbo brings out in Gerard that no one else can bring out in Gerard.
Thoughts of cannibalism. Let me eat that stupid brain. That stupid, delicious brain. Another thing that caught our attention this week, Will, I know you and I...
Fox Footy.
So here's my theory, right?
Yes.
The Fox Footy promotions department, they said we've got 2 boxes here. One is a pitch for one promo, just an overall promo. Another one's a pitch for Channel 504.
Okay.
I'll let you guys, when are you going to pick, this box or this box? And one team chose this box, and this turned out to be, hey, why don't we get Parkway Drive to redo the Fox Footy
Australian
theme?
hard rock band Parkway Drive.
And I like this. I mean, it is one of the great sports show themes, and this is just good, right?
I mean, Parkway Drive are leaning into it.
Yeah.
It's got that real, like,
They want to
rap
be there.
rock, like,
Yes.
90s wrestling. Even just the opening shot of the guitarist, like, walking out with that purpose. And then, initially we were like, the lead singer isn't really doing a lot. He's just waving his arms in the air and stuff. But he really leans into the come on at the start. Yeah, when he has his moment, he takes it. And it'd be weird if he wasn't there, you know? Like, and it, like, I mean, it's good in a way that if you went to see Parkway Drive, you would hope they did this thing.
Honestly, this is like if you saw Limp Bizkit, you want them to do the Mission Impossible thing, right? Like, you know that it's like a promotional thing.
Yeah. Well, you have a theory that there was 2 promos. I have a theory that was similar to yours, which was there was one promo, and it was a rap rock combo, like Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park style.
Yeah.
That was pitched to Parkway Drive, and they said, no, we'll just do
rock.
our version of it, because the rap version that was pitched to them was the separate promo that has been made on behalf of the Fox Footy Network.
Oh, Will, do you mean this number? Oh, where's it gone?
Fox Footy on the beat, Joe.
I see it, but I can't believe it.
The stage is set.
This is fantastic. They're putting on a show.
Here it's game.
Lace up your boots. We got the best commentators.
Coming live for the
Fox Footy's here to stay.
no ad breaks during play. Every game of every round.
And it's all in 4K.
Super Saturdays here.
So you know what that means.
Exclusive live footy.
With your favourite team.
Grab your mates, gather round.
504 is the place to be.
Up to round 8, right across the country.
We haven't convinced you.
There's one thing you gotta know. Watch your games anywhere.
Anytime with Fox Team Go.
Now we're bringing it home.
At Fox Footy, we care.
If you really love your footy, you'll forget freeware.
Phenomenal. That's off the scale. And that's one of the highlights of the year.
First thing I want to say, Will,
Yeah.
no Jordan Lewis. Do you think when Gary Ryan did his been around the world thing last year and it went pear-shaped, Jordan Lewis was like, never asked me to do anything like that again. Gary, though, fronted up, and Nathan Buckley, we saw glimmers of like, oh, Nathan Buckley's really committing. Takes it to the next level in this one, doesn't he?
Yeah, I agree. So who are your sort of best on ground, worst on ground? What's your sort of feedback of having watched the entire promo? So firstly, the fact that they've gone to like a hip hop promo is...
It's so embarrassing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much to Fox Footy. Like, because they would have known that this was embarrassing.
Yes.
Because they have a good sense of that the best way to go viral in the footy world is to do, like, if you can't do something that is super amazing, do something that is terrible. Like that moment from last year would have been one of their biggest online moments, and they're just like, we're just going to lean into that. We're going to get everyone to do a rap, right? But then you have to actually convince the people to do the rap, and you're going to see whose level of enthusiasm comes to the table versus others.
Yeah, this is the Mr. Plow scene from The Simpsons where Homer says to the kids, should I do a rap song? And then starts rapping. They're like, please don't. That's embarrassing. That was 30 years ago,
I'm
Will.
Mr. Plow. That's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
I'm Mr. Plow, I'm here to say. Okay, so they open with Ben Dixon, and you know how I feel about Ben Dixon. I'm always like, what is the point of Ben Dixon? And
but
nothing has changed.
Yes, but this, like, to me, this is exactly where Ben Dixon lives, right? Like, Ben Dixon cannot say no to these sort of things because Ben Dixon, like, if they need to fill out a promo with, like, talent, and Jordan Lewis won't return their phone calls, then you just slide in Ben Dixon. Like Ben Dixon knows that he has to be available for any occasion. The one that I am fascinated by is Patrick Cripps.
Yeah.
Like they are
so I
getting
wasn't
their
aware that
value
he
out
had
of
a
the Brownlow
commentary.
medalists.
So does he do special comments or something now? Is that a
Don't
thing?
know.
Yeah. So
He's
Patrick Cripps
all over this promo.
in his footy jumper wearing like, I mean, this is the thing, right? It's so cheap. They've shot it in front of a green screen.
so
They've just got the
cheap.
Fox Footy logo behind it, some cheap ass graphics. The only thing wardrobe, like Will, if I told you we're making a hip hop video, go to the wardrobe department, get me 3 things that suggest hip hop. What would you get?
Yeah. Well, a hoodie.
Or a
is what I would go
baseball
with.
cap,
Yes.
maybe a puffy
but I mean,
jacket.
I was going to say, but from like what they might already have, like in the Carlton logo,
Yes,
you
okay,
would definitely have
perfect.
like a hoodie, like
Yeah.
a big kind of like black jacket of some kind, like
Yeah,
you
or
know,
a
a puffy
starter
jacket
cap.
or a black jacket or whatever, and
Yeah.
a cap. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Would you give him a pair of 70s looking sunglasses?
I think that they've just gone, it's a rap and his last name is Cripps. And I've heard about the Bloods and the Crips
They don't wanna
being
fuck
like
shit up.
involved in gangster rap. So I guess maybe that's a thing.
Okay, so
Eddie Betts is good. Eddie Betts is good. Like
why
Eddie
is he
Betts
doing
has
the
got-
American accent? Like,
Well,
I mean,
to distance himself from it, I think.
is that what it is? I think there is we have Aussie hip hop has come of age, Eddie. You don't
Yeah.
have to do that anymore. We don't have to do American
I
accents
think it's
anymore.
because he's like he could do it because he's got.
He
rhythm,
lived in
but he's, like,
Adelaide for 10
leaning
years.
into-
We've never heard of the Hilltop Hoods.
It's true. That's actually true.
All right, let's go through it. We can go lyric by lyric because
Okay.
in this promo, Fox Footy have helpfully put like sing-along lyrics at the bottom of the screen for some
Yeah,
reason.
great, perfect.
Okay. Oh, so Nathan Buckley again, my best on ground,
committing to the bit.
doing a John Cena "You Can't See Me"
Yeah.
hand in
At
front
the
of the
start.
face.
Yep.
You got Eddie Betts with the headphones on, scratching turntables, which I believe he does. So,
Yeah.
some legitimacy to this one. All right.
Yeah,
All right. Gary Lyon
Right.
dancing
Gary.
like your uncle at a wedding.
I mean, high shoulders. The shoulders have gone right up. The necks come right back down in like a turtle. And he's like, it's more like someone punching, like boxing, like doing boxercise than it is dancing. But he's giving it a go.
He's giving it a go. And does this make you think that Been Around the World debacle last year, which was his idea, that was very
Yes.
apparent from the recriminations that came after that? Is there a part of Gary that thinks he's good at this?
Interesting.
Because he's given it something with the dancing, and he spearheaded, and he kind of got angry at Bucks last year for coming in too early before the beat.
I mean, I think he fancies himself as a little bit of a showman, like on his radio show and just like hosting things through Fox Footy. He's always been a bit of an
All-round
entertainer and a
entertainer.
showman. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic. They're putting on a show.
Ben Dixon just,
Ben Dixon is in it.
yeah.
Putting on a show.
Here it's game. Place up.
Okay. So Gary says, here is game time. Jack Revolt says, lace up your boots.
Lace up your boots. Now, Jack has phoned this in.
Yeah.
Like literally, if he were on a phone, he would not have phoned this in more than he has phoned this in.
He's
He goes,
saying
like-
it. He's not
he
rapping.
says,
He's just
"Lace
saying
up
the
your
words.
boots." Yeah.
Up your boots. We got the best commentators.
Coming live from the booth.
Fox Footy.
Okay. So, like Patrick Cripps, they've used him third person in, like not one of their legends, like third person in. Patrick Cripps have jammed in. Brownie always gives a pretty good performance, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
he's only got one zone. You distinctly know it's him, but it works.
Yeah, yeah. So Patrick Rip says we've got the best commentators, but sounds like he almost missays best, which is I find amusing. John O'Brien coming live from the booth, and Kath Laughlin's up next.
Fox Footy's here to stay.
No ad breaks during play. Every game of every round.
And it's all in four.
Okay, Bucks. Every game of every round, he puts a slight American twang to it, and he does another kind of like West Side kind
Yep.
of hand gesture.
That's right. Yes.
And then we've got Dicko doing all in 4K.
Dicko's back. Yeah.
4K.
Super
Yeah.
Saturday.
He has to do the company line, Dicko. Get in there. Do the 4K flock.
Buck says Super Saturday's here, and Eddie comes in, so we know what that means. And they're both doing American accents, so maybe I imagine if Eddie
It's
and
a link.
Nathan recorded their bits, but if they were
Yes.
one after the other, that makes sense. I understand a bit more now. Okay,
So you know what that means.
Exclusive live footy.
With your favourite team.
Grab your mates, gather round.
504 is the place to be.
Up to round 8, right across the country.
Okay, so that's actually a bit of humor. That's good. So you got Bucks doing the kind of like disclaimer there, saying that it's only
Yes.
until round 8 that it's exclusively
Yes.
on Fox Footy, and then Ben Dixon.
And then Ben Dixon laughs at the end. Oh, hang on. Wait, can we stop?
So
Guess
all of a
what?
sudden, the chief appears.
Hey, everyone remember the biggest star who works at this network who hasn't been in this nonsense yet?
We haven't convinced you.
One thing you gotta know. Watch your games anywhere.
Anytime with Fox 10 Go. Now we're bringing it home.
At Fox Footy, we care.
If you really love your footy, you'll forget freeware.
I mean, what do you think about that? If you love footy, you'll forget Freddie. To me, that was
If
like
you
Murdoch.
really love footy, yeah,
It's
it
like
was
evil Murdoch just trying to like strangle the last bit of kind of democratized media.
Do you hate footy? Do you? Oh, yeah. Okay. Are you unfooty?
Look at this Paddy Cripps doing the kind of what's that thing with the arm
Snake?
wave thing, the
Like a
snake or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever that would be.
Do you remember like 5 years ago he was having to take public speaking classes and get over his shyness and all that kind of stuff? Now look at him.
Yeah.
Wearing completely era incorrect sunglasses.
I mean, yeah.
Nothing about that says hip hop.
Nothing. And he's in his footy jumper. He just looks like he's wearing his footy jumper and sunglasses. Nothing to do with hip hop.
I need to know more about this promo. This we haven't had one like these for a while. Do you remember head surfing?
No.
That was the last one that we really captured our fancy.
No, I think it's because like Fox are doing all the games and because they've got Super Saturday. Because we didn't even talk about that, like Saturday night, sort of great night to be Saturday night Elton John one.
Oh my God, yes. Should we talk about that? What the fuck is going on there? So that's where all the money went. Is that giant KO commercial. And what's happening?
I mean, I don't know.
Like sometimes when I see Baz Luhrmann films, I'm like, wow, someone took a lot of cocaine. They're so intense. It's just like it has that kind of feeling. And I get that with this KO ad. It's like, we've got money to spend. What's the idea? It doesn't matter. We've got money to spend.
Yeah. Clayton Oliver is like, I've cleaned myself up, but dropped a few ideas off to the Fox Footy promos department that I had a couple of years ago that I just wrote down.
What else is that's everything in football? Did I got to check my notes?
Can I I mean, again, this is a small thing, but to the AFL, thank you for changing the rules of the McClelland Trophy, the most unfair trophy in the AFL. I will forevermore.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. Sorry, but now it's playing. We've got to listen to the whole thing.
This is fantastic. They're putting on a show.
Here it's game. Place up your boots.
Oh my
Boots.
God.
Best
Commentators, all right, from the booth.
Footy's here to
Here to
stay.
stay. Do we play?
Game of every round. And it's all in four.
Okay.
Saturdays here.
That means
Exclusive live footy.
With your favourite team.
Grab your mates, gather round.
504 is the place to be.
504.
Right across the country.
504 is the place to be.
One thing you gotta know.
Watch your games anywhere.
Anytime with Fox 10 Go. Now we're bringing it home.
At Fox Footy, we care.
If you really love your footy, you'll forget freeware.
That's off the scale. And that's one of the highlights of the year.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
All right.
But yeah, that's the rule now. If a conversation gets boring on the show, I've got the fucking.
Oh my God.
If we run out of things to talk about. Sorry, you were making a point. I interrupted.
Nah, it's fine.
Okay.
I banged on a lot last season about the McClelland Trophy. They have changed the rules of it. I feel like end of that. That's the end of that. It was a big theme for me, Charlie. I complained a lot. It's over. I'm letting it go.
Oh, good. I'm glad we can all move on.
Yes.
One last thing I'd like to say is that Hawthorn sported a new away Guernsey. Did you see it?
I saw that.
All brown with a dark brown. I like it.
The all
I think
browns.
the all browns. It looked like a fancy chocolate.
Yeah.
They're a good fucking football
that's
club.
right. They do.
But
didn't
they just get everything right, don't they? The Hawks.
Yeah.
Like it's
Now
so
they look-
maddening.
Now they look so delicious.
They
Did
do.
Did you see that Jack was reading a book? Like people had opinions about that. The cheeky Jack was
Jack Ginnivan.
was reading a book at the game people
On the bench?
pre-game, pre-match.
Oh,
No,
right.
no, not on the bench. That would be the best.
It's like, well, that's confident.
Just imagine he's just like
What book would he be reading?
Jack. Doesn't he love like races or like it's the form guide? He's
Oh,
just
right.
there reading the form guides.
Do we know what book he was reading in the change rooms?
It was something about like it was a motivational book, I believe. Like he
Okay.
was reading some book about like people seem to think
The
it was
subtle
weird,
art
but
of
I,
not giving a fuck or something like
yeah,
that.
that's right. Yeah, that would be great actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got that mastered, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, the not so subtle art of not giving a fuck.
All right. Look, we don't have anything in the mailbag this week,
No.
but if you do want to get in
Fair
contact
enough.
with us, just go to everyonerelax.co. You can check out some of our other podcasts while you're there, like TOEFOP, like Willosophy. They're all great stuff. And if you want to support the show, please do go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/everyonerelax. I'm putting up full videos of Two Guys, One Cup. We're going to see how that goes.
okay.
So if you if that's an incentive to you, if you want to watch along, you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month and see Will and I talk about the footy each and every week. Will, have you got shows to promote?
I do. So I've just finished the Adelaide Fringe, but there is Canberra shows, there is Melbourne shows. They're all selling pretty quick though. So if you do want to come along and see the show, we've just added a whole bunch of other ones all over the country. So Tassie and Brisbane and anyway, a whole bunch of different places, comedy.com.au.
What Will's saying is he's going to be too busy to watch any football for at least the first, 6 weeks?
I'm going to try. I am going to try. There was only 2 games this weekend. So,
And you couldn't watch either of those? Like, so how do you think you're going to go when there's fucking 9?
well, there's more chance I might accidentally catch one when there's 9.
Right. a good
As
point.
opposed to now. I only had 2 opportunities to catch them and I was doing shows at both times. So I can't.
How are you
can't help
feeling about it? Like, because my head is not there.
Football.
Yeah, my head's not
No.
ready.
I think this is just we're easing it in. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
This
I
is
did
okay.
hear Bucks on SCN talk about he put the Bulldogs and the Saints in the same category in terms of like,
Yeah.
they're doing some kind of word association.
Oh, yeah.
And St Kilda and Bulldogs, he said, it's time to cobble because we both have to cobble together competitive teams to
Yeah.
put on the field. It's like,
I've got to say, I'm quite interested.
Okay.
Like, I will say that seeing this version of the Bulldogs and seeing what it looks like and seeing what Bevo can do from just a Bulldog supporter base, I am not devastated by the situation we have found ourselves in. I could see that if Bevo was able to engage with this moment, which feels like something that I think he can do, and then, you get games into players and then you get your stars back. That's in the past, that's often been a way that teams can end up going deep into the finals. So it's not all lost yet, but but the season hasn't started, so thank God.
play on, not 15.
Well,
Little footy-loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. The shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are 2 guys, 1 cup.